Hey everyone, welcome back. Happy Thursday to you all, including everyone that's in the chat here right now. We got Para Stevens, Sour Melon Gaming, HD Tech, and everybody else is joining us as well. So thank you so much for coming in here. Today we're going to talk about, well, Bitcoin, what Bitcoin did. Bitcoin was up a little bit today. Miners were kind of mixed. For the most part, they were up, right? But there was several that were down on the day. Cleanspark came out with good news. They're at 26 exahash. We'll take a look at that as well. And then we'll get into the miners. What could they possibly be at if Bitcoin goes 2x or 3x at that point in the next possibly 12 months or something like that? Okay, we'll look at all that, get into your guys' Q&A at the end, and we'll call it a day here. So you guys know the drill. Not financial advice, for entertainment only. Please, please, please do your own research. In my full disclosure down below, if you enjoy this type of content, as always, hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. Hit the notification bell that we get notified when I do go live on these streams here. Sunday through Thursday is when I normally do these. Friday we don't do a stream because, well, everybody is celebrating the end of the week, and I'm going to be celebrating here along with you guys. But here's what we got. Bitcoin is up, or at least was up today, right? It was up a little bit here. It was up about 1.37%. It closed at 58,137. We're still above our support line here at 57,500 roughly. So that's a good sign there. We'll see where Bitcoin goes on tomorrow. We got possibly the Fed cutting rates next week. That should be good for Bitcoin and the miners as well, as it's going to signal risk-on assets are good to go. But yeah, we'll see how September is going to play out regardless. But the miners, for the most part, were in the green. There were a couple that were in the red. We had Cypher in the red, Cleanspark in the red, IREN being in the red, Riot being in the red along with Wolf. The one that did the best here looks like it's going to be possibly, well, looks like it's tied between BitDeer 5.88% and Mawson also 5.88% right now. Overall, it was a pretty good day for the miners, right? I was a little surprised that Cleanspark didn't get more of a bump here today, especially them coming out that they energized 50 megawatts at Sandersville and increased their hash rate to 26 exahash here today. I think we may still have some overhang from them going to be adding more shares that's going to be available to them from 300 million to 600 million. I think maybe that's still having an impact on it right now. The stock is pretty low as it is right now. I am looking to buy some more tomorrow. I will be putting in couple more $1,000 in tomorrow into the market. And I'll be deploying it probably equally between Cleanspark, IREN, and Bitfarms as well in the morning sometime. So hopefully things don't run away from me too much in the morning at that point. But that's kind of the plan that I have right now. All right, so that's it for the miners here. Let's get into some of the stories that we do have here, which is going to be the really one story that we have here is just Cleanspark getting to 26 exahash. They got there pretty quick, right? Yesterday's story that we talked about them buying 7 sites in Nashville and them getting things all set up to get to 37 exahash. Well, today they came out that they energized the 50 megawatt final phase of their 150 megawatt expansion in Sandersville, Georgia. So that's fantastic news there. And then here's just a comment here. This past week has been monumental for Cleanspark, marked by full energization of our expansion into Sandersville and Dalton, along with acquisition of 7 facilities in Tennessee. These efforts have allowed us to rapidly expand our hash rate, which will now expect to reach 37 exahash before the end of 2024, said Zach Bradford, CEO. And I'm incredibly grateful to the local community. Our partnership with Sandersville is a prime example of how Bitcoin miners and communities can thrive together. And that, they've done a fantastic job there. So Cleanspark is firing on all 8 cylinders. They're doing really well right now, increasing their hash rate even by the end of the year to 37 exahash like we talked about yesterday. That's all great news here. So I'm still very, very bullish on Cleanspark. Cleanspark is my biggest position right now, followed by evenly more or less Bitfarms and IREN, and then a little bit less on Core. That's where I'm at with everything as it is right now. Okay, so that's it. Now let's take a look at what would happen if Bitcoin goes 2x, 3x from here right now. We haven't done this in a while, and things have definitely changed since then. We've had the Q2 results come out, where we've seen some miners dilute quite a bit, right? So the number of shares is outstanding is up higher than what it was before. And we're just kind of looking where they are right now as far as stock price, where could they possibly be if Bitcoin goes 2x and Bitcoin goes 3x as well. And these are just rough numbers, kind of conservative as well, I would think. I'm not going full bore like a 3x on top of Bitcoin, what Bitcoin does on these guys. I am also using an X multiple on them. So I'm looking at each one individually, where they have come down, what their operations are like, and then giving them, could they do a 3x on top of the 2x that Bitcoin has done. And some of these guys might get a little bit more. Some guys might get a little bit less. And this is just my own thoughts on things, right? You may disagree with some of these things. You may think some of these guys may get more. And that's true. Some of these guys may get more, right? The big question on all of these guys here is the ones that are getting into HPC AI. If they come up with a good contract with a customer that needs HPC AI, and that might change things here for us. But this is just strictly looking at their Bitcoin mining productions and operations and things like that. So this is kind of what we're looking at. So we'll go through each one of these guys here really quick with if Bitcoin goes just 2x, right, where will the miners go? And I'll print out the multiples that I'm using for each one of these guys, the low price that I'm guessing at, and the high price. The low price is only based on a 3x multiple, and then the higher end price is based on a 5x multiple from where they are right now. So typically, the average, I guess you could say, over the last cycles has been that if Bitcoin goes up 2x, the miners do a 3x on top of that, so usually like a 6x. So I'm actually lower than the 6x already, right? I'm down to a 5x at the higher end part, only a 3x on the lower end part of things. So Marathon right now, they're at $15.80 per share. Market cap, 4.6 billion. I'm giving it a 0.8, so a little bit of a reduction there because their operations haven't been great over the last, you could say maybe year and a half or something like that. So that would get us to a low price on them at about $37.92 to about $63.20, somewhere between there. I don't know exactly where. It's a pretty wide spread, right? But that's just the unknown with the Bitcoin and the market as well. There's just a lot of unknowns. So we don't know where the network hash rate is going to go. We don't know how much they're going to dilute even further. So this is kind of where I'm looking at, that they might be possibly somewhere between there, the low and the high. Okay, Cleanspark, I give them a little bit of higher multiple, 1.1. They have been, operations are great. Growth has been great, right? They're at 26 exahash already right now. They're getting to 37 exahash by the end of the year. And they've been beaten down quite a bit here recently because of the offering of increasing their shares from 300 million to 600 million shares. I think they could get a little bit of a premium here going forward if they continue to execute like they have been. So I have them, if Bitcoin goes 2x, between $30.53 to $50.88. Okay. Core is a big question there because they have the huge AI contract with CoreWeave. That's going to start generating quite tremendous revenue for them next year, somewhere around the first half of the year. But without that, I still have them at $31 to $51. Riot, a little bit of a discount here at 0.9. Their operations have not been great, so I'm between $18.98 and $31.64. TeraWulf has been on a huge run-up here recently. The reason they've had a huge run-up is because there's a lot of hopium in them getting a HPC AI contract, a sizable one at that. So I think they're a little bit overvalued right now, so that's why I have them between 647 and 1078 on that one. Iris, I think, has also been beaten down here quite a bit here recently, so I think they could get a little bit more premium going forward. So I'm between 28.82 and 48. Cypher, a little bit of a discount, 0.7, not a lot of growth here this year, more growth into next year. So I have in between 649 and 1082. Hut 8, a discount there as well, right? They're still using older miners. We haven't heard anything about them getting to newer miners as well. So I have in between 1634 and 2723 potentially. Bitfarms, a little bit of a premium there. They've been beaten down because of Riot, I think. On that one, they've been executing very well recently, doing all the right things. So I think they could also fetch a little bit of a premium there. So I have in between 796 and 1326. BitDeer, a little bit of a discount as well because, like I said before in these streams, not a lot of growth this year. More growth in the second half of next year potentially. And that's why. So I have in between 1399 and 2331. BitDigital also, they have a great HPC customer there. Not much more growth in Bitcoin mining. They haven't even, their original goal was like to get to 6 exahash. They haven't, I don't think they've stated anything recently here that they're trying to get there. So I'm thinking that the Bitcoin mining side of things is going to go away from them. Because of that, I have them between 419 and 698. And then Hive, I have them at a little bit of a discount here, 0.9, because they're also just trying to maintain a 1% Bitcoin network hash rate in that regard. So I'm between 815 and 1359. And then here's what the X multiples could possibly be on these guys if they reach the high end part of it, right? If Bitcoin goes 2X on it. Next, so that means Bitcoin right now would have to be like around 11,000 or 11,000. Wow, that would be really low. $115,400 roughly, right? That would be the price at 2X roughly. Now we're going to go down to 3x here. We use the same multiples as we used above. And then here are the prices for the miners here that I would think they could possibly get if Bitcoin goes 3x, which would mean Bitcoin would be around 173,000 right now. My price estimate for Bitcoin was 180,000 and has been that for the last probably year and a half to 2 years, I think, when I started talking about it, where Bitcoin possibly could go. And that's pretty close to that. So Marathon could be between $63 and $88. Cleanspark between $50 and $71. Cleanspark, my original estimates for them was around $70. Given that the number of shares have increased here, I think they might be a little bit lower than that, possibly, maybe around 65. But that would still give them about 17 billion in market cap. That would put them quite high, quite nicely up there, right? Core between 51.95 and 72.73. Riot between 31.64 and 44.29. Terrawolf at 10.78 and 15.09. IREN at 48.04 to 67.25. Cypher at 10.82 to 15.14. HUD-A between 27.23 and 38.12. Bitfarms between 13.26 and 18.56. BitDeer between 23.31 and 32.63. BitDigital between 6.98 and 9.97. And Hive at 13.59 to 19.03. So there's your estimates, more or less, where I think things could possibly go. Things can change, like I said before. They could get HPCI customers. Bitcoin could go up higher than this. Miners could do even better than this as well. But overall, this is kind of on the higher end side of things, where as far as we could see the multiples for the miners from where they are right now. So Marathon we get a 5.6, Cleanspark about 7.7, Core about a 7, Riot about 6.3, Terrawolf 3.5 multiple, Iris about 9.1, Cypher 4.9, HUD-A 3.5, Bitfarms 9.1, BitDeer 4.9, BitDigital 3.5, and Hive 6.3. And like I said, these are just my estimates on it, where I think maybe things might go somewhere between there. If you can get anywhere in between these numbers, I think that would be fantastic. Considering where we are right now, it would be huge gains, right? Where else are you going to get these kind of gains in the market right now in the next possibly 12 to 15 months potentially? I don't think you can get that anywhere really, unless you hit a penny stock that's got some kind of, I think it might be a penny stock that it's like a penny goes up to $1 or something like that, right? That's basically where I would think the other possibilities would be. But from regular stocks, you're not going to possibly get these kind of gains here as long as Bitcoin cooperates and goes 2x, 3x. Even at 2x, things look really, really good here if you can do those things as well from where we are right now. Miners will definitely do much better though, okay? So that is it. That's kind of what I'm seeing here right now on the miners, where they could be based on the latest dilutions that we have for them, what they reported in Q2 numbers. So let me know if you guys agree, disagree in the comments or in the live chat that we're doing right now, and we'll get into your guys' Q&A as well. All right, so pretty easy day today. As always, you guys know the drill as well. At the end of the presentation, I always talk about my Patreon members, which I love. They're great. They help support the channel tremendously, along with my YouTube members there. But that link for the Patreon membership is down in the description, $8 a month. You might be able to find a couple spots that are still $5 or $4 a month. And if you pay the annual subscription, you get 10% off on that. And there was really no difference between the different tiers. You get access to all the stuff here. It's just that when I started doing this, I gave a discount to early adopters, basically people that wanted to help me out, and prices have gone up ever since then. Okay, so that is it on that. Let's get into your guys' Q&A side of things here. Again, thanks everyone for coming in to watch this. I greatly appreciate it. But let's get into the Q&A. See what you guys have to say, questions, anything like that. Okay. Let's see. Astramom says, yay, thanks. Been waiting 2 months for this update. You're welcome. Yeah, it's been a while since we did this. And I wanted to wait because I wanted to wait for the actual dilution and the number of shares that the miners have right now as of the end of Q2, right? So this data is still a little bit old. It's about now, 2 months old? Well, maybe not that much. I would say maybe a month old because a lot of the miners that provided the updates for Q2 actually reported the numbers that they had when they were reporting for the shares outstanding. So we're not too far off. I think this is pretty good. Let's see. Private says Cleanspark 30 to 50, Bitfarms 8 to 13. If and when BTC goes to 116, this seems low. It is conservative. Like I said, these are conservative numbers. These are not, moon boy shout outs, I guess you could say, on it. but we'll see. We'll see how close we are between that. Anywhere between where we are right now and where we might go, I think it's going to be much better than where we are. Chris says, Riot will go to 122. I hope you're right. If it does, that'd be fantastic for you and all the shareholders at Riot. They haven't had a great time here in the last 12 months. Okay. Private says, I hope they do better, but it's good to hear what you are thinking based on the research. Yeah, I hope they do better also, right? These are conservative numbers, like I said before. Okay. Chris says, Riot will go above 79 easy. As I think they have a possibility of doing that if they can fix their operational uptime. And that's the reason why I've kind of took them down a little bit from where they probably should be. They're way undervalued from where I think they should be, but it's because of their operational uptime right now. Let's see. What's the over-under on how many questions to Seb during Q&A asking where is so and so going to be and what Bitcoin 2X's? Yeah, I mean, if you guys can take bets on it, maybe you might win something. I don't know. Let's see. My average for Cleanspark is $15.60, so about 40% down. Total about 10% of my portfolio. Okay. Be patient, dollar cost average into it. That has helped me. I've been in Cleanspark since beginning of 2022, so I've been in it for quite a while now. But I knew what I was getting into, and I knew that was going to be a little bit longer time frame. You're looking at a couple of years potentially from the bottom. But yeah. Let's see. Was thinking I should liquidate my Wolf up 100% and pump into Cleanspark now. What do you think? I mean, if you're up, I think Cleanspark is more undervalued. I think Wolf is more overvalued, but that's based on Bitcoin mining, right? But if Wolf gets a HPC contract, that's a big if. We don't know about that right now. There's just a lot of questions surrounding it, a lot of hype around it right now, but we haven't seen anything yet. So, I mean, that's completely up to you how you want to do that. Let's see. Scott says, agree, Chris. I'd hate to see how Cleanspark would have done without news. Insiders selling 15% of their 133,000 shares. Might be scheduled, but a bad look to retail with stock at $9. They've been selling? I have not seen it. I'll take a look into it. If anything, we'll talk about it on the weekend show. I'll take a look at the SEC filings that they have been selling. What else we got here? Let's see. Where else are you going to get such great returns in the next 12 months or so? This is exactly the question. These miners like Cleanspark and Bitfarms are probably the best investments now. That's kind of what I think, and I agree there, right? Let's see. Have more operations improved since last year? They have gotten better. Let me rephrase this. They had a great month in 2023, which was like May. They did really, really well. They had a couple poor months after that. December was a fantastic month for them in 2023. And then after that, they had issues for a couple months, 3 to 4 months, and they've started improving after that. So they have been improving. Seb, do you think investors are losing confidence in Cleanspark's management ability to preserve and grow their share price? No, I don't think so. I haven't lost any of that confidence. I still think that they will do very well going forward. Personally, I think that they've been growing the best out of all the miners here in the last couple of years, right? Ever since we had the peak in 2021. But that's just me. Investors also, when they hear of more shares being available to the company, they automatically think it's dilution, which is not always the case, right? They diluted 200 million shares in about 2.5, 3 years or something like that. So it's been a while for them to dilute that. I believe the next 300 million that they're going to possibly dilute is going to be more like 5 to 7 years, because the stock is much higher. They have a much bigger HODL position. They're in a much better position. So I think that's going to take a lot longer to dilute those 300 million shares, where unfortunately some investors just see, a raise in the number of shares available. Automatically that's going to be dilution. And I believe that their dilution has been very accretive to investors. But that's just my thoughts on it. It's speculation on Cleanspark, 300 million. They must have a big plan since they just bought 7 facilities for 27 million. Yeah, this is going for, like I said, the next 300 million shares are going to be used over the next possibly 5 to 7 years. I don't expect them to use the whole 300 million in the next 6 months to a year. That's just crazy. There's no way that they're going to do that. So it's going to take a little bit longer time than that, right? When I just talked about it. It took them like 3 years to dilute 200 million shares. And you see where they've come from and where they are right now. You have to also take a look at that and take that into consideration. Is your future valuation for Bitfarms based on fundamentals and future growth of mining operations only, or are you also counting? No, that's only for Bitcoin mining, basically. Their operations going forward, right? 21 exahash this year. They already have plans to get 35 exahash next year as well. It's based on that growth, more or less. Okay, understood. HPC contract is the only potential upside, but Cleanspark is undervalued based on exahash valuation. Alrighty then, we'll make my decision soon. I'm excited. Yeah, yep, that's correct. Chris, not sure I understand this. Buy Riot, Cleanspank from 24 to 8. Riot has been coming down also, right? So you got to be fair to them both. Everything has been coming down here, really. Gary says, I agree with the way things are going. Riot going to $1.22 or 120.22 could be correct. I don't think they're going to go down to $1.22. They have just too big of operations and things like that. They just need to execute on it, provide much better uptime. Do you think the reasoning for Mara having bed operations this early year was because they ended Hut 8 contract to run their facilities? No, I honestly think it's because they were operating such fantastically in December, where they almost had like 100% uptime. I think that was the reason, maybe why they had some issues with transformers and things like that. They just kind of the transformers could not handle it, I think, right? Because right after that in January, man, their numbers really dived quite a bit, like almost, 50%, 60% that they went down. So I think they just what's the word I'm looking for? Overran, exhausted the transformers there with all the power draw potentially and running for so long, and they just weren't meant to do that, I guess. And that's one of the things that Marathon stated, that they had issues with transformers that were from like China or something like that. So they were getting much better transformers than that, and they've been improving operations ever since then. Okay, any updates on CORZ warrants or positions being locked in escrow? I have not seen anything or heard anything about that. I've heard that it is up to the investors to sell the warrants, right? So if you have CORZ W and CORZ Z, I think it is, you have to sell those when you feel right on selling those. The company will not automatically convert those, I guess. Hi Seb, Stronghold acquisition by Bitfarms will surely increase 10% share dilution, but will also add market cap to Bitfarms. Your thoughts, please. You are undoubtedly doing an exceptional job. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, so we are going to see a dilution of about 10%, right? Based on numbers that we do have for them acquiring Stronghold. That I also think that if they can do it right and they can build it out and get the megawatts that they're saying that they can get out of it, I think it is very good for them going forward as well. So it is short-term dilution, but I think longer-term gains on it more. Why do you think Riot cannot fix their uptime as all this time? Just sloppy management or something else? I was on Bryce's and Anthony's channel. Bryce or Anthony said that Jason has stated to them that during the summer months, they're going to be not diluting, curtailing more so than they would be in like the fall, winter, and spring. And that's where a lot of the a lot of the curtailment is going to be happening at that point. Jason has stated that Corsicana should be operating around 95 to like 97% uptime annually on the average, right? So if we have more dilution here in the summer months, okay, then we need to see much better uptime like September, October, November, when it's cooler months. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. We'll see if we get that, but right now they haven't done it. And it's a shame, really, because they have a lot of potential, I think. Let's see. Reports said Cleanspark used cash, not shares in the latest deal. I can't remember the details on it, but I think they would have probably used cash on it as well instead of shares. He said, when you evaluate miners' fair value, do you take into account their cash, BTC holdings, debt as well? What's their premium? So when I look at the miners, I look at enterprise value, so which takes out cash, BTC holdings, and debt as well, right? And then I look at what their hash rate is, what their future hash rate is, and that's kind of how I evaluate the miners on that side of things. Okay, Sour Melon Gaming says, doesn't feel like new money is coming into the mining sector. Money just keeps shuffling around. Right now, Wolf and CORZ up big, while Others have all dropped big. At some point, the opposite will happen. I agree with you there. Yeah. Let's assume Bitfarms gets a 1 billion HPC AI a year. How much will that add to the price? That's not going to happen, first of all. A 1 billion contract? No. CORZ has a contract with CoreWeave for, what is it now? Roughly 400 million a year or something like that. 1 billion, I mean, you're talking about like what would that have to be? Like a gigawatt of megawatts at that point to get that, possibly. That's not going to happen. So you might say maybe 10 million or 100 million. Okay, 100 million, we could possibly see that happening, right? But I'm just not that keen on HPC right now, mainly because we've seen only Core get a huge contract along with Bit Digital. Everybody else is talking about it. They're got some little things going on here or there, but nothing really substantive right now. So I wouldn't even toy with that idea. Anyways, if they do get it, it wouldn't be until possibly the end of 2025, early 2026, when they could actually execute on that. Okay. AJ Fisher says, if Kamala Harris gets elected, how could that affect crypto? In the long run, I don't think it's going to have a huge impact on crypto or Bitcoin or the miners in general. Bitcoin, if you guys know, has been around since like 2012, 2011, whatever it's been. It's been through a Republican and a Democrat in the White House. It does not care, at least historically has not cared who's in the White House. It has continued to go up, go through the cycles, go back down, go back up. So I don't think that's going to have any impact on it. Now, if by chance Kamala Harris gets the White House and they also control the House and the Senate, then things could be a little bit different. But historically, we've had a little bit of a check and balances in the system here. We'll see if it continues to go that way. And I expect it to go that way, actually. Okay, let's see here. 300 million shares, $10 each. Is that fair for shareholders? For which one? I'm not sure which one you're talking about there. Okay. Gary says Mara has junk miners, only miner who can't mine 100%. It's not that they have junk miners. They have actually pretty good miners for the most part. It's just that the locations that they are in, and then also they only have about 55% or something like that, maybe a little bit higher now, of self-owned infrastructure. Everything else is hosted for them. So that's where things kind of get into question there. But they've been doing a much better job here recently. Can't take that away from them. Let's see. Bernstein said, I guess, Bitcoin could test 30,000 if Harris wins U.S. elections, or 90,000. Could you elaborate? Thanks. I don't see that happening at all, to be quite honest. Look at the previous elections of Bitcoin cycles kind of coincide with the elections, more or less. I mean, have you ever seen that with, did you see that with, who was prior to that? We had Trump. We had also Barack Obama, right? We had also Joe Biden here recently. Did any of that stuff go down that way? No. It's more or less scare tactics. Which miner has the most shares outstanding? That would be Bitfarms. Bitfarms has the most shares outstanding because they have not done a reverse split. And they've been in this game the longest out of the miners here, except maybe for like Hive. Hive did a reverse split, what was it, about a year and a half ago or something like that. So that's why their shares are done. I think at that point, if they didn't do the reverse split, they would have probably had more shares than Bitfarms here. Sarmelin Gaming says the company will also continue to suffer under Kamala. People clearly haven't learned the lesson in the last 4 years. Blows my mind. That is yet to be seen, right? Yeah. I mean, the economy was suffering because we had high inflation. And why do we have high inflation? I think everybody knows why that happened. Let's see. Angie says, hi, Sub, great information on Bitcoin miners. Have you ever considered analyzing Tesla or exploring outside of Bitcoin miners? I'd like to hear your thoughts. Thanks for all you do. I have probably last year. I was doing quite a bit of research on Tesla. Who else was there? Rivian, and there was another electric company as well. I'm drawing a blank right now. I think it was Volvo. What is their North Star? Or I can't remember what that spinoff was. I can't remember what that was. But I was going to pull in like data on all these EVs as far as what the revenues are, how many employees they have, how much revenue they get per employee, how much profits they get per employee, right? Just trying to see which one is like the most efficient one there. But I decided not to, only because it's just too time consuming, really, to get into all that stuff. And I was spending a lot of time. I had actually like 18 miners I was covering at that time. I may get into it later on. If we get into like a bear cycle, I may look into some other things as well. If you had to choose, which miner would you have 100% allocation in? I would not have 100% allocation into any one of these guys here, to be quite honest. The reason for that is you just never know what's going to happen. Right, you have to look into jurisdictions that they're in, the local governments, which most of these guys are in the United States, which is fine. But that alone, and just being in one, if they mess something up or something like that, stock could do pretty badly. So that's why I've always tried to be at least diversified in like 2 or 3 at the minimum. Ideally, like you want to be in like 4 or 5, I would think, or 3 or 5, I would say, somewhere in there. Brad says safety equals CORZ. CORZ could be the safety play, right? They have a huge contract for 12 years. We know what the revenue is going to be like going forward. That would probably be a safety play, yeah. Are you worried at all with your Bitfarms stocks getting bogged down by the Riot buyout proposal left alone? Bitfarms should get at least 12 to 13. I don't know if I'm worried about it. Right now, at least, I'm not. The things I'm seeing with Bitfarms are all great things happening for them. Growth, they're doing the right things with management, the right thing with board members as well. So there's just a lot of good things happening with them. Yes, Riot is still in the picture there, but Riot has taken off their bid to buy out Bitfarms. They're still trying to get board members on the board of Bitfarms. We'll see how that goes November 6th. And we'll see how but Riot, how they react to the vote at that point. If they don't get the votes that they wanted to have the board members, could they at that point say, okay, enough is enough, we're backing down? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I think that is having it's having an impact on the Bitfarms stock price, I think. Let's see. If compare the market cap is way bigger right now. For example, the MC market cap is between 4 and 8 billion. So if we expect MC times 3 for this bull run, it will be between 12 and 21 billions. We never saw that. Not sure what you mean there. Any thoughts on Ethereum price going way up along with BTC going up? Yeah, I think if Bitcoin goes up, I think Ethereum will follow suit. I don't know what the correlation is between the two as far as Bitcoin going up 2x. Will Ethereum go up 2x? I don't know. No, I do own some Ethereum as well. We'll see how it does. I'll probably end up selling Ethereum this cycle as well. I want to get out of all the old coins. Ethereum, I got Doge, I got Hedera Hashgraph, I got some, what's the other one? Oh, gosh. I'm drawing a blank here. Solana? No, not Solana. I don't have Solana. Cardano. I got Cardano. So I'm looking to get out of all those things. Sebastian, why are you writing Bitfarms? LOL, they have far too many shares, can't even hold $2. Yeah, they do have a lot of shares, but again, they've been around this for a long time. That's why their price might be lower, but I think that they're still way undervalued from where they really should be. I think they should be at least a 2x already from where they are right now, if they didn't have maybe Riot on their backs. But a lot of these miners are also way down, so I expect them to do quite well when they do actually go up, because Bitcoin is going up in the future. Will that work out? We'll see. But I'm seeing the same thing that I saw with them, that I saw with IREN and Cleanspark as well. And only time will tell, right? Was it a good bet? Was it not a good bet? We'll have to wait and see. What are your thoughts about it? What would be the first time the miners reached a big market cap like that between 12 and 21 billions? Yeah, last cycle, I think Marathon got to like 8 billion, but you also have to look into consideration, or take into consideration the fact that the miners have a lot more hash rate this time around, and they're generating much more revenue. So that should, in theory, generate much higher market cap values for these guys. And I got a sneeze coming on. Maybe it won't go. Maybe it'll go away. Okay. What else we got here? The Yeti says, I'm not a Kamala supporter, nor am I a Trump supporter, but to say she will destroy the economy is flat out wrong. Look at the debt per year based on who was in office. Trump increased the debt by 40%, but we had the pandemic, right? So I don't fault him for that. Then we had a huge increases also because when Biden got into it, right? We were just printing money like crazy. So I don't blame that at either party on that one. Let's see. And Joe Biden is in 4 years, only increased 16. Check it up. Yeah, that's why I'm saying it's, there's circumstances for it that were kind of out of either party's control at that point. So I don't even take that into consideration. Let's see. Do you really think Bitcoin miners like Cleanspark and Bitfarms are the best way to gain these next 12 months on the rise of BTC? This bull run looking for oversized returns with very high, strong conviction. I have very high and strong conviction in both of those guys, along with IREN and CORZ. That's why I'm invested in all these guys, and I'm going to be possibly buying more tomorrow as well. I think that they are just undervalued from where they are right now. I could be wrong on this, but that's a bet that I'm willing to lose, right? I do not want you guys to lose the same thing, and this is why I say this for entertainment. I try to give you guys the data that I have on it, right? But you have to make your own decisions on where you invest and everything else. Okay. Scott says, I guess, Sebastian, the Green New Deal does like miners using as much electricity as the state of Utah. If they told the miners to stop, most would leave and go to other countries. I mean, they are using a lot of electricity, right? But they're not the only ones. I think they're still using a small fraction of the total electricity that's available. But yeah, if they told them to stop, they would probably leave. But they're also quite beneficial to the overall electrical grid, right? They provide as a kind of like a balance on it. They can use up electricity when it's not needed and turn off when it is needed. So they do provide, I think, a value there. And he says, I'm hearing that there's now a 40% chance the Fed cuts by 50 basis points next week, bullish or for BTC or BTC miners and stocks too for that market, for that matter, in my opinion. Yeah, if they don't, I don't think they're going to cut 50 basis points. I think they'll cut 25 basis points because 50 basis points would tell the market things are worse in the economy than previously realized. So I think 25 basis points will be the start, and then we'll see what they do in, when they have next meeting, October, November, I can't remember. Okay, let's see. Tesla should be a great place to put our Cleanspark Bitfarm profits in 2026. Yeah, potentially. That's something I'm looking into as well. Brett, very good point here. Yeah, just don't forget to take profits. Lesson learned that I learned back in 2017 and 2021 as well. So definitely take profits. Okay. I don't want to get into too much politics here. What else we got here? Let's see. Al says, Riot is smart investing in Bitfarms versus BTC, better multiplying chance to buy them out or possibly partnership. Yeah, I've said it all along, right? It's a great move by Riot. They can either buy out the company or they can ride the shares up when Bitfarms does go up in value, and they can ride the multiple on it. So it's a win-win more or less for them at that point. Any reason big miners who are not into HPC AI are lagging in their performance? With your experience, what will be BTC top price you are expecting? Now there's a lot of talk about 90K top. I don't see 90K being the top. I still think 180 right around there, right? I could be off by like 20, 30,000 either way, up or down. But more or less is kind of where I'm thinking things might be. So that's kind of where I see the top. As far as why some of the miners here are underperforming, I think there's just a lot of hopium with the deal that Core got with CoreWeave. And then people talking about, they got little side projects where they're doing a little pilot programs or projects or little projects and things like that. That has been a big catalyst for driving the miners that are talking about HPC AI. Overall, the miners are down in the last 12 weeks, regardless if you have HPC AI play or straight Bitcoin mining. They're all down. So I think it's just the time frame or the span of time that we're in right now where there's a lot of hype for HPCI, and that's pumping the stocks that do have it. But then again, look at BitDigital. BitDigital has a customer already that they're getting like $100 million in revenue from them a year, and the stock is not performing that well. So it's not that easy to figure that stuff out sometimes. Okay, what else we got here? Bitcoin miners have the opportunity to potentially generate around 13.9 billion in additional yearly revenue. That's how I predict Bitfarms might do 1 billion a year in HPC AI. Okay, that's interesting, but I think that's really high. I think I've talked about this before. I don't think that there is really anybody that is that well funded right now, except for the hyperscalers, and the hyperscalers are not going to play or get into bed with any of these miners. They're going to buy them out if they do that, and then just kick out all the Bitcoin mining out and do their own HPC at those sites. All right, they'll demolish the buildings, put up brand new buildings, and do it that way. But they're not going to mess around with these miners. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Kevin and Eddie, be nice. Play nicely in here. You guys are getting a little heated there on. That's why I don't like to talk about politics, because there's always two sides to it, and people get a little heated here. Stadia, yes, thank you. Likes help the channel, appreciate it. Okay. Kevin, thank you so much for the super chat. I greatly appreciate it. I'm sorry for being mean, but the last name was, and he was a hater. Yeah, but still, be nice, right? Everybody has their own opinions. We don't have to be mean to people that we disagree with. I always look at it this way. You want to hear the other side of the aisle as well, right? That's how you can get nice round. How can I put this? I think you guys know what I mean. Like a round discussion of what's going on, see other points of views, because that also helps, I believe, oneself to see the opposite side. So kind of like wearing the shoes of another person, just to see how it feels to be in their shoes. So be nice out there, right? You can disagree, but be nice about it. Okay, so if this was asked, came in late. There are several versions of the seal miners coming out with BitDeer. Will they be able to carve out a big chunk away from Bitmain? This hasn't been asked yet. We've talked about this in previous streams, and I believe that is yet to be seen. Yes, they have a really rambunctious growth path here, going from seal miner A1 to like seal miner A4, I think, which could be like around 5 or 6 joules per terahash. That's going to be fantastic. Now, how much of the market share can it take away? It'll depend on, I guess, on pricing maybe, and the performance of the miners, durability, all that stuff, which is yet to be seen, right? This is a new miner, but they have ties to Bitmain. The founder of BitDeer was also like a co-founder of Bitmain. So I would expect the miners to be on par with Bitmain, but time will tell and things will shake themselves out. I think competition is good nonetheless, because that means that miners that are buying machines now have multiple places where they can buy machines, and that means prices will probably stay relatively lower. So that's more or less a good thing. Okay, Sam Food asks, hi Seb, what will be your selling strategy at what level? 90, 100,000, 120,000 of BTC will you start selling? Probably around like the 100,000 mark. I'll start selling slowly, like 5% of my position here, 5% of my position there, right? I just don't know where the top is going to be. Nobody knows where the top is going to be. So I'll start slowly selling. So if I can get, a portion of my position sold before the top and a portion of it afterwards, I'll be a happy camper at that point. Which miner has the most squeeze potential as far as short interest? I think Marathon's the one that's short like the most right now. I think so. Who has a better chance? Balance sheet, Riot or Bitfarms? That would be Riot right now. Okay. Knowing what you know about the bear market sell-off on the mining stocks, would you hold any of the mining stocks through the bear market as a hedge against a diminished Bitcoin pullback this cycle? The only one that would maybe hold on to would be maybe CORZ, right? CORZ is the only one that's going to have a just repeating revenue stream that's going to be happening every month for them, going for the next 12 years. I think that one might go down less than others. Other than that, anybody that doesn't have a huge HPC AI contract for an extended period of time may still have the same fate as previous cycles. Bob says, Polestar, thank you. Yes, so that's the one that was Volvo spinoff into a electric car company. Do you think it's still worth getting to IREN now, or just buy more Cleanspark and Bitfarms low? IREN doesn't hold any BTC. I'm going to be buying more IREN tomorrow along with Cleanspark and Bitfarms. I think it's still very attractive in these price ranges, and I think it should be valued much higher than where it is right now. But that's just my opinion. You guys are, yeah. Eddie, Kevin, just be nice out there. Brett says, love me some IREN. Supra7 asks, have you done these charts in the past cycles, and how close were you on prices? No, I did not. I started doing these in, I started getting into doing this YouTube thing and all the stuff that I'm doing right now in 2021. Was it 21? 2021, yeah. Right around, I think it was like August, September, right before the peak of, at that point, right? So I have not done these since then. It would be tough to get all the data to go back and see if those numbers I'm seeing now would work out the same way later on. But we'll see. Let's see. Earnings per share, I guess, at these prices. Well, you could do that in math on, what would that be? Take the market cap that's listed divided by the number of shares, but the number of shares is going to probably increase by that time. We just don't know how much, and you could possibly get a ballpark figure somewhere around there. What's your take on the upcoming Fed rates? I know you stick to fundamental analysis, but a video that would take a deeper look into a monetary policy would be interesting. It does impact miners. It does impact miners, right? So whenever we have rate cuts, that's usually a good thing, because that means risk on assets are then kind of more appealing, I guess you could say. So I think it's a good thing. We'll get those rate cuts happening here. But even with if you look at it, when do we get the interest rate hikes? Back in 2022, 2023, right? And Bitcoin is actually going up in value in 2023. Miners were going up in 2023. They were going up into 2024 a little bit, but then things were coming down here into the halving event more so. So I don't know how much of an impact that really has. Okay, let's see. Hey Seb, nice thing about this drop is flushing some of our bad positions down the drain. Flush right for some more IREN, Bitfarms, and I know you disagree about BitDigital. All better than Riot anyway. Ha. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we're seeing capitulation in them, maybe they're just regular investors, I think, with the miners right now. IREN and Bitfarms really could use some help from institutional buying from the likes of BlackRock and Vanguard. Yes, but there's been a lot of institutions buying into those companies nonetheless. Do you think traditional institutional or bank institutions nuke, which catapults us into the BTC bull, similar to regional banks collapsing recently? No, I don't think they're going to collapse. I think if that was to happen, I think the Fed would save them, especially some of the bigger banks. They're just too big to fail. I don't think that's going to happen. Why are you not bullish on Wolf? A little while back, you had the price pegged at 18 by January 2025. They've had a huge run up here recently. They've also diluted quite a bit more, so that also reflects in the price being a little bit lower. They did that to pay off the debt, which was great, but that's going to reflect in a lower stock price at that point. The reason I'm not more bullish on Wolf is, one, the HPCI thing I think is more hype than anything else. We haven't seen anybody else get anything sizable other than Core and BitDigital right now. And there's really no growth for them going forward here into this year with Bitcoin mining. So that's why. Seb, are you selling your BTC and other crypto, or just the miners? I've held on to Bitcoin since 2017. I may hold on to it longer. The altcoins I may end up selling here as well. But I don't have that much in altcoins. Maybe at the peak, I might have maybe 15, 20,000 in alts, maybe something around there. So it's not going to be that big of a position. What will you do with your profits once you start selling miners, more traditional stocks, cash? I may go into like the S&P 500 for a time being before I actually figure out what I want to do with it. I have some ideas about maybe buying some land in a forest, like in a mountaintop thing, doing like an A-frame, renting that out potentially as well. Like an Airbnb, buying properties, fixing them up, selling them or buying properties and renting them out as well. A portion of that. I don't want to do everything into that, but a small portion, like 25% or maybe 30% into that side of thing. So just to get like monthly revenue from that as well. We'll have to see. Private says, I bought miners, Cleanspark and Bitfarms around 9 months ago, and both are still down now. Does this concern you, or is your thesis on a leverage play on the rise of BTC still intact with strong conviction? I still have a strong conviction. Remember, I was buying these miners back in 2022, January. Cleanspark was buying at $9 something. Bitfarms was buying at $5 something. I was buying them all the way down through the bear market, basically, because I didn't know where the bottom was going to be. So my averages came down much lower because of it. And I'm still in the green on these guys because of that. If I did not do that, if I just bought and held back then, I would be down on both these guys right now, probably. Yeah, I think Cleanspark, I might be a little bit up on Cleanspark, but not to the point where I'm at right now. Bitfarms, I know I would be down on it right now. That's the only thing that's really saved me. But yeah, I still have a strong conviction that Bitcoin's going to go up. Miners will bounce because of that as well. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your opinions and research with us. Yeah, you're very welcome. I enjoy this. The questions you guys ask me make me think also. It's like double checking my own work. Am I thinking this properly through? Let's see. Pyro says, I personally identify it as an exahash. It's awesome. Okay. If you had to choose one miner to perform the worst in this cycle, which one? Out of the ones that I covered now, the 12, I mean, right now it's been Riot, unfortunately, that has done the worst. But that could also mean they could have the best bounce possibly, right? If they fix their operations, uptime, all those things. So I just don't know. Okay. Why Bitfarms doesn't do a reverse split? Why? Why? I mean, is that not going to change their market cap at all or anything? It's not going to change how much they can go up in value, really, as far as multiples are concerned. At that point. So I just don't see a reason for it. I mean, look at some of the other companies that are out there, Microsoft's, Google's, Amazon's. What are they at? Like 1 billion plus shares outstanding, right? And they're still valued at $1 trillion. Don't look at all I think a lot of people get fixated on the number of shares. Look at the market cap more so than anything else. Where's the enterprise value? Where's all that stuff? All their operations and things like that. Look at that as well. Eddie says, Kevin, okay, we are homies now. Don't worry. Okay, good, right? I want you guys to be all friends, right? Regardless if you're a Republican or a Democrat, that doesn't matter to me. As long as you're a good individual, good person, I get along with everybody. Okay. Brad says, I plan on reinvesting my profits into cash, flowing assets with income that I can write off as tips. As tips, okay. Let's see. 180 in this chat, but only 47 likes. Hit the like button. Angie, thank you. Thank you for reminding everybody. Let's see. If you would be given one Bitcoin for being right on a guess, which miner returns the worst percentage as of today in this cycle? Oh, wow. I would have to go on historical data that I have. Based on that, I would say it might be Riot. I wouldn't say probably, but I said it might be Riot. Based on what I've seen here recently in the last 18 months or so. But again, things could change, right? Anything could change for these guys. Brian asks, why haven't any miners gone bankrupt yet? We are funding it. We're funding their growth, ATMs, dilution. That is why they haven't gone bankrupt yet. Kevin, thank you so much again for the super chat. Let's see here. Seb, would you sell BTC miners if you had 60% raw BTC in your portfolio? Would you sell BTC for miners if you had 60% raw? No, I own BTC now as well. BTC right now is actually a higher percentage of my value in my portfolio than the miners are right now because they've come way down. But no, I haven't been buying into BTC. I've been just kind of holding it, and I've been buying more into miners because I think and I believe that the miners have a much better X multiple than Bitcoin does. Okay. How long until you think Bitfarms' Riot situation will be decided? It will be decided possibly on November 6th when we have the shareholder meeting. But Bitfarms and Riot, trying to get the board seats there, will probably have a more clear direction as to where things might go, actually. How much would you add to Bitfarms' price if they delivered 45 exahash instead of the 35 exahash next year? Thanks and good night. Probably a little bit more. If they got to like 45, sometime next year, if they got there, like say by middle of next year, we could add a couple more bucks to their price at that point, I would think. Would you like to commit to a forward-looking share price for CORZ, taking HPC into account, say 1, 3, 5 years? Isn't the future revenue known? Yeah, but then, okay, so at a certain point, you know what the HPC business is going to be like, right? If they don't get any new customers for that, it's pretty much set in stone. You know what they're going to be getting. It's year after year after year. There's not much, I would say, hype or growth going forward. So the stock's kind of going to be trading downwards, right? Whereas with Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners, there's that growth that's happening in those guys. And then the appreciation that happens as Bitcoin goes up in value, their profit margins get much better as well. So there's a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for there? A lot more play, I think, that's in it as well. That's why it's kind of tough. I think Core is going to do very well going into the next year, into the following year as well. But that's going to kind of plateau a little bit, I think, as we start getting the revenues all set into that business there. Okay. Kevin says, that's a good idea, so I should always go for the money coming in. Yeah, appreciate it. Let's see. Gary says, why don't you factor efficiency into your math? Do you think increased efficiency and greater profit should be factored in performance? It could, right? If that is better returns than what you could have done with Bitcoin mining in general. So I'm thinking you're talking about Riot there, right? Riot, if you look at historically, their numbers for the credits given to them for, curtailing has been much, much lower than if they actually mined for that time period. So that's why, right? You also have to take that into consideration. Okay, Private says, for reference, BTC has gained over 30% this year, around 9 months, and MicroStrategy even up around 90%, while Cleanspark, Bitfarms are both down during this time frame. Yes, MicroStrategy does sometimes outperform Bitcoin and the miners, but eventually does pull back. So usually MicroStrategy performs like a 2x to a 3x at most, whereas the miners at certain points can do even better than that, and the time for that is like right now, between now and sometime next year, where we get our peak in Bitcoin bull run. That's when the miners really do well. Question, do you think the next 12 months will be much better for these miners? I do. I honestly do. If it's not going to happen, then this is a completely different cycle. We might get only a 3x from here for the miners or something like that, maybe a 4x, and then that would be it. It might be an extended cycle. We just don't know. Let's see, since most BTC miners are new, that's why most missing IREN potential, possibly. Himanashi, thank you so much for the super sticker. What else we got here? Reverse stock splits destroy stockholders literally 99.9. Okay, yeah, I don't know the stats on that, but I've also heard that it destroys stockholders quite a bit there, because then it means that investors lose faith because they know that they are going to be diluting even more going forward, and maybe even harder at that point. Let's see, CORZ went bankrupt. Yes, CORZ went bankrupt for multiple reasons. I'm not going to get into them here right now. Okay, why don't the mining machine manufacturers like Bitmain open up mining sites themselves? They do have some of their own sites, and they also have their machines hosted with third parties. It is estimated that Bitmain has about 40 to 60 exahash of their own machines running right now somewhere. We just don't know where. They're probably like one of the biggest mining outfits out there as it is. How much of your stock portfolio is in miners versus MicroStrategy? I do not own MicroStrategy. It's everything in miners. Miners, Bitcoin, and then some of the altcoins. Let's see. Core Scientific, CORZ did not. New team. Yeah, there's a new team in place right now. Once they got into bankruptcy. What is your preference order for Cleanspark, IREN, and Bitfarms? Right now, I would say Cleanspark, IREN, Bitfarms. That's kind of my preference there. I think Bitfarms is more undervalued than these guys, But until they get rid of Riot there, I would possibly move them up maybe in front of IREN a little bit because they do have a hodl position and they're growing, in line with what IREN is. Maybe a little bit slower, but they're same in line that way. Isn't Core having just one client CoreWeave a risk over having several clients? What happens to Core if CoreWeave goes bankrupt like Core already did? Supposedly they have provisions in the contract that they would get paid out at that point. They would have maybe like first bids at the whatever is left of the company, I guess. Maybe, I don't know. Okay, High Special since Cleanspark announced diluting shares, do you have any adjusted shares for them? I'm using the shares that they provided now. Again, you guys need to look at when will that $300 million or 300 million shares be used up through an ATM. It's not going to be within the next 6 months to a year. It's going to be more towards out in the next 3. I'm looking more like 5 years on this stuff. That's when it's going to happen. So the next bull run is going to be in this next year, not the next 5 years or 3 years. When I think that 300 million is going to be used up. Maybe even, honestly, I actually think it's going to be like 5 years plus. So I don't take that into consideration. What was your preference for Cleanspark? Okay, I talked about that. Bitfarms is good, but I feel riskier due to Riot. Yeah, I feel the same way. Okay, getting to jump up to you guys' questions here. Not sure if you saw Riot added 305 more shares of Bitfarms this month. I did not see that, but if Bitfarms is diluting because of their growth and things like that, that would probably make sense there. Meanfor says I came here to read Chris's Riot chat. What else we here? I thought Bitfufu was Bitmain. No, it's not. They might have some backing from Bitmain, but I don't believe it's fully owned by Bitmain. For how much AI is hyped, I still don't see any big deal being made with the miners. I've scaled back investments in miners with AI potential. Dynamite Uber, I agree with you there. I'm kind of in the same boat as you are right now, right? I just don't see that happening, unfortunately. I don't see another, because you have to look at it. What is CoreWeave? CoreWeave is basically trying to become a hyperscaler similar to what Amazon is, AWS, Google, or Microsoft, or even Oracle, somebody like that, right? They are going to be just leasing the space from Core Scientific to run their HPC servers and things like that. They are going to be then selling that to users, right? So that's kind of the same business model as, well, not really the same business model. It's just a little bit different because they're going to be leasing instead of owning. But it's the same similar setup as AWS or Microsoft or Google. For that reason, I just don't see another one that has that much capital to throw into this, especially them being backed here so recently with, what was it, 14 billion, I can't remember exactly, $7 or $14 billion in capital that was raised for them to do this. I have not heard anybody else get that much recently here. For that reason, I'm thinking for the majority of things that companies that are startups that are trying to get into HPC AI business for their own self software, they're going to go with like AWS, Microsoft, or Google, where they can then scale the business if they need to, especially the software stack and like the front end for everything else. Why would you go with somebody like a miner that has limited amount of GPUs, servers, whatever it might be? They have, let's just say they have 1,000 servers or something like that, even at that point, or 1,000 GPUs. How can they scale to meet the demand of a potential business that actually operates 24/7? I just don't see it. I don't know. I could be wrong on that, but I just don't see it. Okay. What else we got here? Would you be comfortable holding half your invest money in the miners and the rest in BTC and Ethereum? Please share your ideal portions. I don't know what the ideal portions is. I've been investing a heck of a lot here, more so than I've been investing. Well, let me put it to you this way. I got into Bitcoin in 2017. What was the price of it in 2017 back then before the spike, right? So my investment in Bitcoin is maybe like 8,000, right, that I invested in 2017. And I've invested over probably, 50, 60,000 here into the miners here over the last 2 years or so. I've definitely invested a heck of a lot more into the miners because I still think that the miners will outperform Bitcoin, especially in a bull run, right? So that's kind of where I'm looking at. And my portfolio is nowhere near the ideal solution. I am way, way, way too heavy on Bitcoin miners. I am not at all well diversified in this, right? So I am way too heavy in it. But I'm willing to take that chance because I have such a huge conviction in it, and I understand it, and I know what's going on in there. I have the data for it. So that's kind of where I'm looking at it. But typically, this would not be ideal. Nowhere near the ideal diversification of the portfolio. Let's see. After listening to your thoughts on Riot, do you think there's a strategic advantage to selling all Riot and buying Bitfarms? That I don't know. I mean, again, Riot has huge potential if they can improve their uptime. I think that's the only thing that's really dragging them down, or that they're trying to buy out Bitfarms, right? One of the two things, or the combination of the two things, is keeping the stock down. But if they can improve on at least the one part of it, I would think that the stock would do much better going forward. So I don't know. I'm willing to take the bet on Bitfarms because I've seen good operations from them, or actually great operations from them in the past and going forward. And Riot is more of a question mark for me right now than Bitfarms is. Let's see. What is up with Griffin? Trash. Don't know. I don't track them. They're a very, very small miner. The team there is from Riot, and I think another miner. What was the other miner? I can't remember. So they have a small team. They're trying their things, but it's tough being that small. What else we got here? If everyone is going to big scalers like AWS, then UST have no confidence in CoreWeave future as a smaller player in the space. It's not that I have confidence in them, right? I'm just saying that they could get to potentially, let's say, CoreWeave, right? Once CoreWeave is up and running. But right now, what are your options? Your options are AWS, Google, or Microsoft, or somebody else like that. That's a big scaler, basically. But it's going to take a while for CoreWeave to be in that ballpark of players with Google, AWS, and Microsoft at that point, right? I said, what is your purpose to assure that you do not have rose-tinted glass and are always being self-critical of your own estimations and analysis? Wait a minute. What is the process to assure that you do not have, there is no process, I guess? Classes that you're always self-critical of your own estimations, analysis. Yeah, I don't know, to be honest with you. The only thing I go by is the data that I see. That's kind of what I'm going by here, in historical data as well. Historical data could be, historical data. It doesn't have to repeat. So take it for what it is. Do you look at gold or silver miners at all? I do not, no. Listen to Sam Tabar's explanation on why hyperscalers can't take on the entire HPC market. There are niches for miners to fill. And there are niches, right? And that's kind of what they got. But that's why I'm saying that you're not probably going to see these huge contracts that you've seen with CoreWeave and Core Scientific going forward. I could be wrong on that, but I just don't think that's going to be the case. Yes, there are instances where some companies might not be in favor of going with like AWS or Google or Microsoft because they're competitors to them. But then they really have a couple options, right? They could build out themselves, which is kind of what X is doing, XAI, right? They built out their own data center. That's supposed to be one of the biggest ones, or one of the, not the smartest, but one of the, largest or most powerful AI systems out there. They did that with Dell, so you have the option to go yourself on it. Tesla has also built out a HPC or AI data center basically for their purposes as well. So you have options you can do yourself. You can do what CoreWeave has done, or you can go also with like Bit Digital, somebody that's a little bit smaller player. But those contracts are going to be smaller at that point. That's kind of what my point is there. Let's see, did you see the Alfred and Ben beef? I did not. Was that, there was one beef going back a couple of weeks now. I saw that. I don't know if there's anything recent on them. What else we got? Brett says Alfred gets bored and says dumb stuff. Maybe. Ben is busy executing. Yeah. Let's see. Oracle wants to build 2,000 data centers. See, Oracle is building out. That's the other thing. Amazon, right? They spent $34 billion in the past 6 months to build out and enhance their offerings. They're going to be spending another $30 billion. Who else has that kind of money? Okay, when do you predict BTC goes 2x? I would think within the next 6 months it should be there. Might be even faster than that, depending where things go in the next couple months, or October, November. We might get a little bit of a spike in December, followed by a little bit of a crash. Profit taking happening at that point, writing things down on the balance sheet at that as well. Let's see. AI niches don't bring in the big bucks. Unfortunately, if you look at 5x and 10x, it's hard to see a deal as big as CoreWeave deal. Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts as well on it. Let's see here. Yes, Mike Alfred, Ben Gagnon. Okay, yeah. What's the latest beef on them? If you can elaborate. Is it just recent, or is it the old one that they had? What was it, a couple weeks back? Oh, let's see here. Bloomberg, artificial intelligence, and Bitcoin are the most recent gold rushes of the 21st century. Instead of pickaxes, shovels, and pans, modern pioneers need energy, computing power, and data storage. Yeah, I would agree there. And that is correct. We got Microsoft building out in my state, about an hour away from me as well. They're doing, I think, like a 100 megawatt site. So that's happening as well. So these big guys are going to be building out. They got probably deals in place that are, 5 years in the works already. Average J every day says Bitfarms is most undervalued miner out there. What do you think is suppressing the price so it's true value? I think it's Riot right now, honestly. There was a lot of FUD in the back, a couple months back, with Paraguay, with Canada, the CEO situation, the board as well. So there was a lot of things that were happening back then, but a lot of that stuff has been, if not most of it, has been cleared up. The only thing that's still overhanging is right now is Riot. So Brad says, nothing worth anyone's time, sub. Nothing worth anyone's time. No, I don't know if I get that. Let's see here. How does BRICF fort impact BRICS? How does are you talking about the BRICS? The was it Russia, Brazil, India, China? Is that what you're talking about there? How does that impact BTC? I don't see how it would. Okay. Anthony keeps chilling. Riot yet. Riot and Bitfarms being separate is the best for everyone. People can do diversification. Yes, I would agree there. He's saying beef, non-issue, KFC versus Popeyes. Okay. Yeah. All right. Cut up to all you guys' questions here. We've been going on a little bit over an hour. We're going to call it a day, everyone. I appreciate you guys coming in here. Let's see. We got one more popping in here. What do we have here? Popeyes. Brad says Popeyes, dude. That's the real issue. Okay. You guys are still chatting there. All right. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Tomorrow, unless something drastic happens, we will not do a live stream tomorrow because tomorrow's Friday. You guys are going to be enjoying your Fridays. The week is over with. I'm going to be enjoying my Friday as well with the kiddos and the wife. And then we'll see what happens over the weekend as well. And then we'll talk about it on Sunday. We'll get back into things. But unless something happens drastic tomorrow, like I said, no stream tomorrow. All right. So I hope you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy your Fridays. Be safe out there. Don't drink too much. And definitely do not drive. But yeah, I'll see you guys on Sunday. Thanks so much. Love you all. Have a great one.